Hello and welcome to the Scarf Bergara Wore match review, a Stockport County podcast for county fans by county fans. I'm Jimmy Harmer, and on this evening's podcast, we will be chatting about the much-needed 1-0 victory at Rotherham, which gets us back, thank God, into the hunt for a playoff position. This episode, we will be dissecting the game as well as covering the subjects of goalkeepers, super subs, and post-match interviews. Tonight, I'm joined by Dan, Steve, and Lee. It's great to have you on, guys. Let's get straight into it. So, Dan, let's start with the team and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so two changes from the Cardiff game. Obviously, Corey's come out and Onyango's come out. Obviously, one through choice, one through injury. So starting off, you had Ben in goal. It was a back three, definitely of Aluru, Hills, and Pye. O'Keefe and Osborne as your wing backs. Bailey and Norwood in the middle. I thought Diamond was sort of playing behind Wootton and Anderson a little bit for me. In that sort of hold position. So yeah, it's more like a Christmas tree than anything else. Obviously, without Wootton has been the lone target. Anderson was more up front with him. But yeah, as probably expected, Onyango came off injured at Cardiff, so he's probably, 50-50 if he was going to start. And obviously the big choice really was who starts in goal.
Anyone surprised that Ben's starting in nets?
Nope.
No, I think it was for me. It was 50. I wouldn't have been surprised if Corey was in goal.
Yeah, I agree with
And
that.
I wouldn't have been surprised if Ben was in. I think, like I say, they're both good enough to be in goal. To be honest, we know there's been a lot of heat and attention on Corey lately, and as Dave said, it just might be good for a little bit of a restart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I took a few notes down on Ben. I did something called Ben Watch, and it was all very positive. So 7 minutes, shot straight at him, safe hands, straight, gathered that up nicely. 10 minutes in, comes off out of his area, clears the ball from like midway in our half. Great starting position. 16 minutes, safe hands, collecting across from the Rotherham left-hand side. So tick, tick, tick. Collected a free kick on 40 minutes on around the 10-yard line. Oh, not the 10-yard line, but 10 yards out. And generally he was commanding. None of our defence seemed to be worrying as to whether he was going to come out or not. And he had a pretty safe game, I would say.
I would say he had a bit of an easy game, to be honest. I think it was, if you're going to chuck somebody in goal, you're not really chucking him in goal, are we? But if you're going to make that sort of change, then I thought it was Rotherham, as much as they hyped up of, they're at the bottom end of the table for a reason. And as much as Ben really didn't really have much to do, I thought the back three were better than what they were at Cardiff, for that back three. Regardless, Cardiff, they did show a good performance for 96.5 minutes. I thought on Saturday, that back three were actually good all the way from start to the final whistle.
Yeah, I thought Brad Hills was exceptional. He was, commanding, winning every header, aggressive, with not being too aggressive, if you know what I mean. Joseph Alone next to him looked fantastic, and Ethan Pye as well. All three of them were, and that carried on for most of the game. I'm sure we'll come on to a few key points in the second half, but they were good.
Yeah, I think that back three's probably at the minute certainly the strongest back three we can put out there. I think when Hoskinen is fit, if they're performing like they've performed the last two games, then he's gonna have some job to get in, because it looks like it's starting to. I don't want to say this because obviously we play against Saturday, but it looks like it's starting to just gel nicely there now with those three there. And I think that having Ben back in goal as well, just maybe giving that little bit more confidence. So
I'm enjoying Hill's aggressiveness. I think that's what you need in as that central defender in the back three, and that Jordan Hugill did try and wind him up a little bit as well, and Hill's not got the stats, but he probably won 90% of the headers against him. I don't remember him getting one flick on, actually. So that's really positive. Yeah.
Do you guys think it's one of the things that Ben offers though is he's a lot more verbal. He tells that defensive line more instructions and gives them a bollocking basically when they're not doing things right. Where I find at times Corey, for as big a bloke he has, he doesn't have that sort of stature or authority with his defensive line.
I think it's a lot more than just that. I think commanding your area it's not just about talking; it's also about coming for crosses. At 6'8", he should be absolutely ploughing through everything. It's the one side of his game that's going to stop him going a lot further in the game, because no goalkeeper who has ever not commanded his area well has never been never been number one at successful team. And I think he's got all the other attributes, his shot stopping, his kicking, absolutely fantastic. And he could go so much further, but for some reason, I don't know why, whether it's, the goalkeeping team, whether it's Challoner, we're just not getting the best out of him in terms of an aerial ability.
Do you think it is all down to size? I mean, we were talking off airly about Neil Edwards, obviously, keeper from back in the 90s, and he was excellent in the air, but he was 5'10" or something, maybe even shorter than that. So I'm not convinced that Corey, just because he's 6'8", I don't think that's the reason why he should be winning everything in the air, because a keeper has advantage. He's got arms. He lifts his arms up and he's going to be generally able to pluck a ball out of the air. I think it's more that split second thinking, the instincts. And I think you've either got it or you haven't. And I just wonder with him whether he just hasn't got it.
But it's decision making, isn't it? I mean, being taller gives you a more distinct advantage in terms of being able to do it. But it's about decision making. I mean, we were saying before about Cardiff last week. I know people have said he should, he shouldn't. For me, he should. I mean, if he wipes their lead out and he gives away a penalty, then I go, do you know what? He's done his job. He's done what he's meant to do. Didn't want to give away a penalty. They'd probably score it anyway. But he's done what he needed to do. And it's that indecisiveness that can cause nervousness with defence. But it also causes nervousness in the stands, and that's got to go onto the pitch. I mean, there's no way of not seeing it when everyone's sort of going, holding their breath like that. You're going to hear that as players, Yeah.
But like I say, like last season, we all know there's going to be a point where Corey's going to have to come back into this team through injury or selection of Ben, or he may be form, and he puts on a county shirt, and hopefully the lad does what he did last season and absolutely finds that form and pulls out a stormer, to be honest.
Yeah, I really hope so. Really, look, I want to see Corey Adai do fantastically well. I really do. He's apparently a very likeable guy and everything along those lines. He's a good goalkeeper for the most part. It's just, he could be so much better than he is, just by getting that one thing right.
Yeah. Should we talk about?
I was going to say that's why County buy players like this as well. They don't buy the finished article; they're buying players that they actually see promising and potential in. It's that's why they're young players, and I think we have to be a little bit at times a little bit more understanding to that these aren't Ollie Norwood's an exception to the rule, but normally these aren't the finished articles. That we actually won't get the idea of us buying these players, I think, at times, is that we don't actually see the best of these players. The next club will see the best of these players when we sell them on for a profit, because they'll end up playing at a higher level than what we are. So they're development players for me. And if you want to batter them and beat them down, they're never going to develop.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like I said, I'm not having a go at the lad. I'm not, because I've got, I like him as a goalkeeper. I love the fact that he's so good on the ball. He's a big unit. I mean, you must look at that when you're shooting at goal as a forward, thinking, oh my God, we're not getting past him. It's just that if he gets that aerial side of it right, then they will sell him for big money.
Should we sort of move on from that? So some key sort of talking points of a first half that did end without any goals in it. So Norwood gets a lot of praise, quite rightly. He's our best player for Mob have given him a 7.9 average for the first 9 games, whatever he's played. But everyone does deserve an off day every now and then. And I think that first half, Steve, just wasn't quite working for him, was it?
Well, it wasn't, but it wasn't just him. I think I counted in the first 10 minutes 4 passes. Oh, I think it was 3 passes and 1 corner that just went nowhere near where they should do. And it was like, whoa, that's weird, But then you see Pye do the same. You saw Osborne do the same. Bailey do. Everybody was getting the passes wrong. It was weird, and I don't know if the rain was playing into that. I've no idea. But on your point about Norwood, I don't think he had an off day. I think he got a few passes wrong early on, but you come on to, the Benno's chance in a bit. Look who put him through. You come onto the goal. Look who put that ball in. Look who put the ball in for Ethan Pye when he should have scored. I wouldn't say he had an off day, but he did get it. There's a few kind of wayward passes early on.
I think I was referring to his set piece delivery generally. Well, in that first half, it was long, and handsome.
It was noticeable because it was Norwood, wasn't it? That's why you usually see 1 in 10 goes wrong, and it was the odds were like 50-50 at one point. So, but I think he sorted that later on anyway.
I think with Norwood though, he's one of them players that we sort of set the bar higher with him when we sort of critique the performance and stuff, because yes, we know he's played at a higher level. And some will argue that you could probably still play in the Championship. So I think at times we are probably a little bit harsher on him because, like I say, we expect more from him. But yeah, it seemed that they're all playing within themselves a little bit in that first half, weren't they? They were sort of playing, I don't know if it was fear or, like you say, the weather or just fear of conceding. And Rotherham were a little bit the same, really. It was like nobody wanted to concede that first goal in that first half.
It felt long half, I'll tell you that.
I mean, Norwood's an absolute Rolls Royce, isn't he? Let's have it right. He's an absolute Rolls Royce. He's, I think,
doesn't he? He absolutely loves it.
Yeah, you can, you'd have him in your team every single time. He'd walk into any team in this division. He'd walk into every team in this league. He's that good. Passing.
The difference I thought though from Cardiff to Saturday was that Cardiff he seemed to be playing sort of 10 yards further up the pitch, and a lot more. Where at Saturday he was sort of like back into that sort of quarterback role, more deeper. Where, like you say, on Saturday at Cardiff game, you could tell he was a lot more further up the pitch and making things tick a little bit more.
I think what was interesting was that Diamond was a lot more central in that first half, wasn't he? Which meant that Norwood could sit a little bit further back, and I think we were trying to rely on our wing backs, and whilst Osborne on the left was getting forward really well and he was supporting the attack, O'Keefe had a particularly disappointing half, I think, and obviously we'll come on to the subs, the halftime subs, but I think that was the reason why he was hooked. So other bits and bobs on that first half. We've got to talk about the Benno chance. So you've already talked about it, Steve, with regards to the brilliant sort of slide rule pass through to him, 1-on-1, pretty central, and he sort of pops it past the post. We hear that he's the best finisher at the club, and he is young. The kid needs a goal, doesn't he?
Yeah, without a doubt. It was not an easy chance, but you want him to hit the target, but it was just wide, and another day that would have gone in, same as last week, and it will go in, and then he'll bag absolutely loads.
Yeah. What I loved about it was his movement. I mean, Wootton wouldn't have made that sort of movement. He is excellent in those sorts of positions. So it's one of those, you've made your chance, you've missed it, but at least you're getting the chances.
Yeah, it gives them a lot to think about as well. Defenders, he's dragging them all over the place, and I think this partnership, I think it's a pretty good one between him and Wootton. I think it could get better and better.
It's working, isn't it? It's getting there, and I hope to God that he plays again. He's starting against Saturday, because what he needs is a run of games.
Yeah.
He's been in and out off the bench, hasn't he, in terms of coming in, and he just looks a little bit rusty with his finishing, and that's fine. That'll come. He's a young kid, and he's give him a run of games. Once that goal goes in, like you said, Dan, they'll just keep flowing.
Yeah, you got to feel the same again. Like last Cardiff, you have a feeling he gets one early in a game, he's going to get an hat-trick. And like I say, that run was sort of like Alan Armstrong-esque, I thought. And I look at him and I do see like a little Alan Armstrong, to be honest, the way he moves, he pulls defenders about, he sort of fights for the ball and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got over the season, I've got no doubt he's going to get 15 goals for me over the season. And it's, like I say, when they come, they're going to come like buses.
Should we just quickly talk about Jack as well? I feel like he's probably not quite in his best form at the moment. We all know what he can do. I mean, he still scored a couple of goals and got an assist this season. And not many people actually have got many goal involvements this season. If you take Woods, Norwood and Diamond out of it, I think Alora is the only other person really that's sort of got any goal involvements in the league. Maybe Lowe, actually. He scored a couple of league goals, or were they in the cups? I'm trying to remember now. I was looking on FOTMob earlier, and Lowe wasn't in the starting 11 team, so potentially him. But Jack does look a little bit out of form, and again, that's to be expected. You can't expect a player to go through a whole season bang in form, but we have got somebody on the bench, obviously, who plays in his position as well, and so the second half substitutes really sort of, we ended up taking off O'Keefe, didn't we, after, as I say, a slightly poor half maybe.
I think the yellow card had something to do with that as well.
Okay.
That ref looked like he could send someone off at any point.
Yeah.
And I think O'Keefe being on a yellow didn't help.
Yeah.
No, that is a good point. I'd not considered that, but although I don't believe he got forward enough in that first half, and we do need that support from the wing backs. And then when you see Fevs and what he can do, but we'll come on to that in a sec. So let's just play a quick short transition, and then we'll come back. We'll talk halftime subs, second half, and we'll probably we'll also talk about Dave's post-match interview as well. I think it'd be remiss of us not to mention that. Welcome back to the match review. We are talking about the Rotherham United away win. Stockport County beating Rotherham United yesterday. We've done the first half, and we're going to talk second half now. So, Dan, talk to me about the subs.
Yeah, so obviously we know Charlie likes to make a sub at times. He's obviously at half time. He's done a double substitution. Took O'Keefe off and took Diamond off, and he's put on Fevs and Mothershill. So he's obviously gone for sort of rapid players with pace. I think he's mentioned his post-match that we, trying to get their wing backs going backwards and getting behind them, and the word used was pockets a lot. The positive substitutions that obviously opposed to Cardiff, where we went sort of backwards, we definitely went forwards with these substitutions.
Yeah, Fevrier was outstanding, wasn't he? He was just absolutely brilliant. And it was great to see, because I actually thought, shows you what I know about football, but I thought he'd bring Callum Camps on. I thought he was crying out for Camps. I didn't think Diamond was quite cutting it in the first half, and I thought we needed somebody with kind of Callum's drive to kind of come in. So it kind of took me by surprise when I saw Fevs and Mothershill warming up. I kind of quickly realised, obviously, O'Keefe must be going off, and he's putting Fevs in that kind of wing back position. But I thought Malik did very well going forward. I thought we're on both wings. We had a threat, stretching both sides, and it was very positive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what you expect from them too. Fevrier's fantastic. I love Fevs because he can go either side, and you don't know which. I'm watching him, and I don't know which way he's going to go.
Yeah,
no, he just does it, and I'd have Fevrier starting every week personally. I wouldn't have him as a wing back because I don't think defensively that's his strength. I think I'd have him just as an out and out winger and say Fevs, go and tear him apart. Just if you come over that halfway line, you don't need to. Just stay where you are. Go and do your job. That'd be really Fevs.
Well,
sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say with Fevs though, he's that player that, like I say, he gets off your seat, but he loves to knock it past the defender and just have a sprint. You know, he can do it with the ball. He keeps it nice and tight near his ball, and you don't know if he's going to cut in or go out. If he's going to try and cut you back in and sit the defender on the bum, and you know, we had it with Ollie Crankshaw, didn't we? But with Ollie Crankshaw, there was never an end product.
No.
Where with Fevs, I think you have that end product.
I think he's been.
I don't know what it is. I don't know. Is for some reason, I just want to give him a cuddle. You know what I mean? He's like a little guy. I just want to give him a cuddle. Say, "Come on, Fev." You know what I mean? Just go like, "Oh, get out and son."
He is a lovely guy, and I've mentioned this on the podcast in the past that whenever somebody else scores, he looks just really thrilled for them, and I just love that sort of attitude that he's got. It does look like to me that he's been working on his right foot as well, because he can actually cross a ball now with his right foot, whereas maybe when we first got him, it sort of, he didn't really trust it. He put a couple of good balls across with his right, and as you said, Dan, the fact he can go both ways, the defender just hasn't got a bloody clue, because he's so powerful, he's so quick over those first 2 or 3 yards. And the strange thing for me was that the Cardiff game, he wasn't he wasn't in the squad, was he? He was the 19th man, I think. And I just wonder why, when you've got someone with such an ability to change a game, we've seen it like was back in the last season, why he didn't make the bench, because he wasn't injured, I don't think. I just think he was just not selected in the squad.
Yeah, but I mean, he was coming back from an injury, though, wasn't he? I think he'd had a minor injury. Maybe he wasn't fully fit, and maybe he was just part of that 20 or whatever on the day, just to get him involved again. Maybe, I don't know. It could just come on to Malik Mothersill. I thought he did really well going forward, but I have a minor kind of gripe about him, and I think it's his own undoing, really. But when he loses the ball, he seems frustrated with himself, and he's kind of kicking himself that he's lost the ball, and then the play carries on, and he doesn't track back. And I think Charlie kind of referred to that in his post-match as well. He said we had similar issues with Jack last season that we've worked on, and I think he's definitely a work in progress, isn't he? But he's exciting going forward, and I think if he just believes in himself a little bit more, I think he'll get even better.
Yeah, he looked very much like a confidence player, doesn't he? Something like he just needs that. Maybe it's difficult, but he maybe needs a bit of a run of games, just to get into it, and maybe get an assist, get a goal, or something along those lines, just to build his confidence. But he's definitely you can see. I mean, I've said this from the off. You can definitely see why we've gone and signed him. In terms of it, it's about getting it together for him now, and he's only been here a couple of months. It's not long, but hopefully sooner rather than later with him.
And like last season, players like Fevs and Jack Diamond, it took him till January, February time to really find their place within the squad, within the team, settle down, and started putting in real top-notch performances. So, he's like I say, he's a young lad. He wants to be better. He's driven very much on his own self-belief, which is brilliant. And I've got no doubt he'll come good.
I think it's pretty simple, though. Dave won't put him in the starting 11 until he's doing the basics and what Dave wants him to do. So if he's not doing his tracking back, or if his head is going down when he's losing the ball and he's not getting back into the game, Dave just won't play him. It
nearly cost us a goal yesterday, because he lost the ball, and then they kind of carried it, and he could have run to catch him up and didn't. Then they played a ball down the right-hand side. I think Hill slipped, and as he slipped, they got through, and I think it was Joseph Rolo who came in with a great tackle and kind of recovered it. But that is situations like that, for all the good work we were doing, we could have gone one down at that point, So definitely got to work on that. Like I say, I think he kind of referenced that after the game as well. So
yeah, good point. So should we just talk about the goal then? So Norwood, brilliant cross to Wootton, pretty crowded box, to be fair, and he did well to direct his header down and sort of past the keeper. But let's just talk about Mothersill's decoy run. I don't know whether you guys saw that or not, but he sort of made a bit of space for Norwood to get that cross in without being challenged. So that was good. And I do think that Mothersill, his decision making looks very, very good. As much as we love Jack's running, his decision making is something to be a little bit desired, maybe. But Mothersill does seem to know when to pass it, when to cross it, when to run, when to check back. And I do think that's, as you said, that's why we've gone for him. I think that's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
No, I said none of these players are the finished articles. If they were, like you say, them little things that they need to improve on. If they already had them, they wouldn't be at Stockport County. They would be playing in the top end of the championship for sure. So, like I say, the work in progress, and like I say, it'll come good. It'll come good. Just have the faith that what they're doing and what they're working hard on, and they get the opportunity on a Saturday to show what they've been doing all week.
Should we talk about Pi? Had a couple of missed chances. Pi Dini, he's not in the team to be scoring braces, is he?
But that, shouldn't he?
He was fuming as well. He was fuming with himself.
So he should be fuming because it's not. I'm not sorry, but if you got him on target and the goalkeeper makes a save, then fair enough. But they were absolutely awful finishes. He should be doing 10 press ups after that miss on the pitch.
During the game,
yeah. Before the goalkeepers took the goalkeeper, he should go down and do 10 press ups. It was an awful. Both of them were awful misses. Especially the second one was completely unmarked. If the goalkeeper pulls off a worldie, then fair enough. But he's got to make the goalkeeper work. It's just criminal, I think, to be honest. And like I say, luckily it didn't cost us.
But there's a big but there. They did have an offside goal.
Well,
it could have done.
It could have done, but
yeah,
it did.
Has anybody seen it back? Because I've not seen it back, and I just wondered if it was offside. I saw somebody on, I think, Yellow Board say it looked miles off, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
It did to me. Both of them looked offside to me. I wouldn't say it was miles. I would say it's half a yard. Either way, if we have got away with one, which Challoner suggested we might have done, then fuck it, we're due a better look like that. You know what I mean? So I don't care. It's about time we have to go.
And it wasn't a free kick anyway from the highlights. I mean, like, their player just slipped, and the referee did. The referee book Pi? I mean, he booked pretty much everybody else, didn't he? Let's face it. The guy was card happy. I think he must have had some sort of bet on that he more than 5 bookings or something in a game, because he'd hit that by half time, I think.
I told you this before. Check the bank accounts.
He had 3 bookings for them, and I think we got 3 bookings. No, 2 bookings. O'Keefe and Wootton were the only 2 county players to get booked.
It was a bad challenge in the game, was it?
No, it was one of them games where the ref sort of was determined to sort of make it sure that it was a bit about him, to be honest, a little bit. I thought stoppy-starty, little things given 1 minute and then not given the next. It was just a bit of an inconsistent performance, but we don't like talking about referees.
Did anybody notice in the first half when Hills went down and I think he got a blow to the head or something? It was not intentional, but he was on the floor and they had all the medics on him who were holding his head, and the next minute a stretcher's coming on and he just gets up like the Undertaker off WWE. And he just jumps up, and their fans were going like mad. But it was so funny. So funny.
Well, he took studs to the face, didn't he? The lads, as he's sort of gone forward, his legs gone behind him, and it's like a ballerina, clocked him straight in the face. Yeah, I don't think it was intentional. I mean, if it was a hell of a kick. But yeah, it looked nasty, and when it was down, I thought, oh no, please.
I thought it was going off. I literally thought it was going off. Yeah.
So I want to talk about 2 midfielders, one for us, one for them. So Dan Gore, I thought, was excellent. He reminded me of Lewis Bate, and I wonder whether, if we didn't have Lewis Bate at the club, I wonder if we'd have maybe gone in for him as a loan player, because he
got played the match as well.
Okay, yeah, he did. Yeah.
It's no Lewis Bate.
Yeah,
he's no Lewis Bate. Yeah.
And then the other midfielder, come on, Steve, talk to me about Odin Bailey.
I knew you were going to say that. I thought he was excellent.
He's great.
I thought he was absolutely excellent, and I don't think he put a foot wrong. He just, you know, we've all watched Odin Bailey over the last couple of years, and he has great games, and then he has kind of not as great games. But I think he's asked to play in all sorts of positions for the greater good of the club, often playing out of position. But at that central midfield, it just looks a natural. And him and Ollie Norwood next to each other looks fantastic. And he was one of the players in my list for player of the match. I thought he was excellent.
Do you think, Dan, it makes a difference having that left footer? So you've got Osborne, Bailey and Pye, and then you've obviously got Norwood on the other side with the right footers on that side. Do you think that helps? And the other thing that I'd probably say is, we have said in the past, where is Odin Bailey's best position? Are we finding it now? Central midfielder?
I think it helps. Obviously, you playing alongside Ollie Norwood does help him. Plus the fact that he's a player that likes to be front foot. I don't think he's a player that plays well going backwards or under pressure too much. I think he's very much a forward-thinking player. So if he gets on the ball, he can carry it 10 yards, or he's looking for forward passes. And that's what we missed, to be honest, in the last few games. He's just that forward-thinking player. So I think, you know, if you put him in with anybody else in that midfield, I don't think he'd be that successful. But I think the pairing with him and Norwood works really, really well.
I think it's look, we were crying out for legs in midfield, weren't we? You know, we needed, you know, high energy, someone with a bit of pace about. That's what Bailey's got. Last week against Cardiff, you know, he was man of the match for me. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. The problem that he's had is remaining consistent. I don't know if he's complacent or what. You know, I want to see Bailey doing the same and the same and the same, because he's very good on the ball as well. So I think there's definitely an opportunity there for him to make that place his own if he really wants to. Because Moxon has been sort of hit and miss this season. And at the minute, if Bailey keeps playing like he's playing, neither Moxon or Bate are getting there, because he's everywhere at the minute in the middle of that park, and that's exactly what we needed.
It's healthy though, isn't it, for the club? Because, you know, we've had this situation this season where Lewis Bate got injured, first friendly before the season starts, standing on the ball, and we're thinking, well, we're all right, we've got Moxon, Camps and Norwood, and then Camps goes and gets himself injured, and then we have Moxon, who for me actually played quite decent, but a little bit, he seems to tire with 20-30 minutes to go in a game. To have this extra midfielder now come in who's absolutely performing and actually playing better than what Moxon was doing, this is really healthy. So now Bailey's got to keep that level of performance to keep his place. Moxon's got to up his level to get back in the team, and then you've got Camps fit as well. So
and the forgotten man of Fiorini as well.
And Fiorini, yeah, and he's very unlucky, because I mean, I think he would have started last week against Cardiff if it wasn't for the injury.
Yeah. You got to remember that Bailey's entered his last year's contract, I think, as well, hasn't he? I think he signed a 2.5-year deal, was it? So I think it's up at the end of this season. I'm sure that also is a motivation for him to sort of try and do well as well. Let's not forget, this is a guy that's played in, I think he's the same midfield as Jude. I mean, he's friends with Jude Bellingham, isn't he? I think he's played in the Birmingham youth team with him or something. I think he's a couple of years older than him, but because Bellingham probably would have been playing a couple of years above his age. But yeah, he's obviously got a lot of talent. He's just finding his best position. I think we've found that now.
What about for me I was going to say the next bit, the most important part of the game for me is coming up, which is the Brecky coming off and Nathan Lowe coming on. I think last week we seen at Cardiff where he took that second striker off and put a defender on, where today he's put like for like on. And I think that for me was a big decision in the game, a turning point as such, even though we 1-0 lead up. But I think by him putting Lowe on, and I thought Lowe was actually really, really good when he came on, that was a massive point in the game.
If he'd done that last week, we'd won the game. absolutely no question. So Dave's learnt, I think, from maybe his mistake. I thought it was not funny, but slightly strange last week in his post-match. Obviously, when he was sort of saying, was it his pre-match for this one? I can't remember, but he was saying that he wants his players to be braver. And one thing I didn't say on our podcast, like last week, reviewing the Cardiff game, I don't think Dave was brave. So he's saying, okay, players, you've got to be braver and you've got to be continuing to make those forward runs and stuff. But the message from the bench was, I'm shoving 4 central defenders on. So I think he's got to take some responsibility for that.
Yeah, and a credit obviously today on Saturday for when he put Low on instead of Brecky, and like I say, Low for me, I thought he just offered them levels. They didn't drop off. He offered something new. Same again, a lot of hard work for not a lot of reward, but I do think that was a good point in the game where it could have gone the other way. Momentum could have really switched the other way.
He had a great chance to score as well, didn't he? Near the end.
Yeah. The halfway line attempt.
Yeah.
I actually thought he'd get it on target after watching him do what he did in the. I can't remember what that cup's called, but in that
Virtue Trophy.
Yeah, a Virtue Trophy. Yeah, after seeing how he kind of took that sort of different type of chance, but it's similar how the ball's come out to him and he just split second, he just placed it into the net. I actually thought he'd get that one on target yesterday, but it was a very difficult chance, very difficult. But he's got the ability to do that, so unlucky, really.
Yeah, he just kind of sliced across it a bit too much. He was you could see him trying to get that curl, but
he didn't have a lot of time to think or execute it, did he? He was absolutely, they were on him very, very quickly before he even received the ball. So it was, it is what it is. But like I say, I thought it was a really positive substitution, but he made an impact when he came on. We've said this before about substitutes having to make an impact, not be passengers, or not just to jog out for 15, 20 minutes. They have to actually do something when they're on the pitch. And I just thought, he really made an impact.
Yeah,
we had a lot more control, didn't we, as well? That was the thing. We had a lot more control of the game, and I thought we'd seen it out really, really well. I think Rotherham could have played all night and not scored. I thought we were that good defensively. Yeah. So
just plaudits to Ben Osborne as well, who's coming to the club and he's settled like he's been here all his life. I think he's been excellent, and I think he's given us much needed experience and confidence down that left-hand side. And you can tell he's played with Ollie before. They link up really well, the quick 1-2s all the time. But he's been a great signing. And that's another one we've got for the midfield if we get the other wing-backs back.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
Yeah, spot on. So, all in all, a good 3 points takes us up to 8th in the table. So we're 1 point behind Doncaster, who are behind Barnsley, who are in the final playoff place, and only 4 points off Stevenage in second. So it's all to play for. Bradford City, bit of a surprise for me. They're still doing well, and they're beating some big teams as well. I think they beat Luton at the weekend. I think
Cardiff.
It was Cardiff. That was it at the weekend. 3-1 at Cardiff. So decent for them. Ex-county player again. Well, Sarcevic scoring for them, so well done to him. Moving on, should we just quickly just talk about this post-match interview? It's got quite a lot of heat, I guess, on social media and stuff. Lee, do you want to sort of give me your sort of thoughts on some of that?
Yeah, I think it was poor off Challoner. I think is probably the polite way I can put it. I love the fact that he's backed Adai, because that's what I want him to do, is to back his players. In the same breath, he's then managed to dig out Ills, who's been fantastic the last 2 games. And he's also managed to dig out an absolute club legend by telling him that he's only going to be revered for winning, the National League North, when in the AFL statistically he's been fantastic. So I think, quite honestly, certainly with regard to Ben, I think it was extremely disrespectful to do that to him. And he obviously blamed Ills for the goal again as well. So yeah, not Look, he's clearly said it because he's trying to back our eye, and I get that, but he's gone over the top there. He's gone too far. I don't expect him that he will apologise. He doesn't strike me as a sort of bloke that will. But that's fine. That's up to him. But if I was Ben Hinchcliffe, I'd be absolutely livid. So, yeah, I think he's out.
I always think it's really hard, these post-match interviews. There's a hell of a lot that's gone on, obviously, in Dave's head. And he's got a split second to decide how he wants to sort of convey his thoughts on certain situations. And I'm sure that if you asked him to write it down in a letter, he would probably choose his words slightly differently if he was able to do that. So I do sometimes take a little bit of a pinch of salt when sort of managers say these sort of things after games. And I think you're right, Lee. I think he was just trying to do his best to defend Corey, who has taken a lot of stick recently, and he obviously believes in him. He said that we were offered, or a championship club was interested in him in the summer. I don't know in what capacity that was, as a starter or as a second choice keeper, but obviously the club had a decision to make, and we decided to keep him. I guess if that was the decision, if anything like an offer came in for him. But Dan, I know you sort of like to talk about sort of stuff like this. What's your opinion on this? Is it as strong as Lee's, or you?
No. For me, he's venting a little bit. He's obviously something's rattled him. He's seen comments, or someone said something, or he's read something that's annoyed him, and it's his way of sort of getting his frustration out a little bit. I think it's a bit of a mountain over molehill, to be honest. He's backed his player. He's I think it comes back down to that. He's got two number one comments. They both have faults, and we've said it before. None of these players in this current squad are perfect because they're playing at League One level, not at Championship, and they're not at the Premier League. If they were hyped up as much as we would like to think, then why would they be at this club? They'd be playing a higher level. So yeah, no, I don't. Like most things, the criticism and the pressure only comes on when we're not performing and we're not getting the results. I think we've played better than we did on Saturday, but the result was what was most important on Saturday than the performance, and we got that. It gives us something to build on for the next game against Reading, before we obviously then look at the Huddersfield game as a bit of a not top of the table, but a game that if we want to be in that top 3 or 4 of the table, that we should really need to get something from. So yeah, no, I'm not worried. Trusting Challoner, he has very high standards. He has a very set way that he wants his team to play, and I don't think he's going to move from that, to be honest. So yeah, I back him, still back him. Like I say, I just think it's a little bit of frustration with everything that's going on. But yeah, you'll get there.
See, I'll be honest with you, Dan. I agree with what you're saying there, in lots of it, and he is quite an emotional guy with stuff like that and venting. But he's talked about being together, and then he's dug out a player who's done nothing wrong, and then he's had a pop at he's statistically the best goalkeeper we've ever had. In doing that, and he's talking about sticking together. So for me, it's just a contradiction in terms of what he's saying, because he's just dug 2 players out for absolutely no reason.
As we've said before, though, there's no place in football for sentiment, is there? And Ben is only as good as what Ben does this season. What he did in National League North and League Two, yes, it'll go in the history books, but here and now it means really nothing. It's what he does. Now he's back in goal. It's all about what you did in the last game. And that's not just with Ben, but all the players, to be honest. If we still had Paddy Madden on the books or someone like that and they weren't doing it, there's no sentiment. You've got to do it. We've got a shorter squad. They've gone for a smaller squad this season. The expectation is high, not just from the fans, but from the manager, from the players, from Mark Stott, the club. The expectation's high. So there's no passengers are allowed. You've got to perform, and there's no sentiment, and and that's the challenge for Ben. I see that as a challenge for me.
Yeah. So Steve, do you think Dave's got to be a little bit careful though when he starts bringing in things like Wootton as being next in line as a scapegoat? Obviously, there's a line between defending your players against the supporters, like the fan base, but then also maybe not crossing that line and criticising the fan base a little bit too much. I mean, what do you think?
Well, first off, he's not wrong when he says that. I've heard it in many games, people giving grief to Wootton, and I just don't understand it personally. So he's not wrong. So he's heard stuff and he's making a point. But I don't know. I mean, for me, I like the fact Challoner does the interviews he does, and like players get it right, hopefully 90% of the time, and they get it wrong 10% of the time. I'd rather him keep doing what he does in terms of Charlie with his honest and detailed match reports and match previews, and get it wrong every now and again. And I think we talk about players having it in the bank in terms of being able to make mistakes. They've earned it. I think Charlie's done the same. He's earned it. He can make a few mistakes too. And, what he said after the match yesterday is probably 50-50. Some people think one thing, some people think the other. Some are offended by it, some are not offended by it. But, he's got it in the bank for me. And if he could do that interview again, I suspect he'd get it 100% perfect rather than 90%, and nobody'd be pissed off. And like I say, he's earned that right to make mistakes. He's human at the end of the day. We're all human. We all make mistakes. So I'm fine with it. I'd like him to continue his approach, and he learns like every other player learns. Like he tells his players to learn, he'll keep learning, and hopefully he won't make that mistake next time.
I think it is a good point, actually, because obviously what's the answer? It's for him to just go super vanilla and every post match just to say the same boring crap that probably every Premier League manager says, not giving you any real insight into their thoughts or what have you. So yeah, keep it up, Dave, and we'll continue to back you. That's for sure.
I'll make it clear just to say this. I back DC 100%. I mean, I was running around with a cardboard cutout for 12 months. I do appreciate DC, and I love the fact that he is honest. I just think, for me, he got that complete after a win as well. After a victory, it felt a very negative interview to have. Just didn't need it.
He is a perfectionist, though, isn't he, Lee? Like, even when we do win, he's picking out the bits that went wrong, as you say. He sort of called out Hills a little bit for some mistakes that he made in that game, which I didn't even notice, but obviously Dave had noticed them. You sort of think, maybe he can be a little bit more positive after a win, but that's just his nature, isn't it?
I mean, let's be honest, for every one mistake that we can pick out, Challoner will pick out 10. If that's players not in the right position to receive the ball, their body shape, whatever, he's a perfectionist. And that's why we've always said that Challoner will go manage at the highest, for me, the high level, higher than Stockport County. I think he will, be the next Dave Jones for us. Because he's a perfectionist. And you have to be, I think, to be successful, you have to be determined, you have to be a perfectionist, you have to be critical, and he sets the bar at a high level. And I think he said it before in one of his pre-matches that when players come into this club, he sits down and tells them exactly what is expected of them, and if they don't want to come, then he's happy with that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think a good point to leave it on as well, guys. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and thank you to our sponsors, Overpass Clothing and Edgeley Conservative Club Coaches. We will be back for the match review next week. Obviously, the main pod Wednesday live with not Russ Johnson this week. He is not available. So Waggy will be taking the helm on that one with Andy Redding and fan guest. So tune into that. And until next week, we will say goodbye.
See you later.
Cheers.
See you later.